It's not my job to explain things simply and clearly. That's the vulgarist job, maybe next generation. But I do think it's a shame to have you make you sit through all my ramblings from the past couple of days to get what I consider a simple and pretty powerful idea that could, I think, yeah, okay. Yesterday I set out to, I wanted to brainstorm how do we have a better relationship to learning, to things that we call errors, to corrections, and so on, where we aren't defensive, where we don't feel like we're supposed to not be committing errors. So we have to change the vocabulary because when we think of error, that's a bad thing that you've done. So here's what I came up with. Everything that you do, every answer you have to a question, every decision that you make is what I call a PM. Okay. Haven't decided what PM stands for yet. Maybe it's prior mechanisms, in which case it means that your PM, the thing that you said, is based on the mechanisms that you had prior to facing that request. Face that request, the mechanisms that you have at that time produce a thing. Okay? That thing is called a PM. PM can also mean première marche, where I think marche is always feminine, isn't it? So première marche. Okay. So first step, premier pas, but anyway, it needs to be PM. So it's your first step. Every time you are asked to do something, you take a step towards it. And often that step is, you've done it. Good job. Okay. In the case where the result isn't good, or you or someone around you has observed that maybe that step was actually inadequate. Maybe we need it. So there's nothing wrong with that step, but we just need another step, or we just need a better step or something like that. Then we have the AM. That's the first two letters of amélioration, which is French for improvement. So what can happen is you do your PM, you do your first step, you do your answer to the question, and then maybe the results aren't good, or somebody goes, "Hey, wait a minute, hey," and then they propose an AM. That's what an AM is. It is a proposition, but then they propose a proposition. Look, just bear with me. I'm not going to explain this perfectly. That's not my job. So just explain it well enough for someone to understand it, and then they can explain it clearly to the rest. So this has to be under 5 minutes. Neo, come here. I need to do this. Okay, so a PM, no, an AM is can be proposed as, or it could be an alternative march. AM can be alternative. Yeah, maybe we should avoid the word improvement. It can be additional march, alternative march, advancing march. So you take another step to it, get even closer. You'll never be able to obtain a perfect answer in most things in life. But if you just know somebody pointed out a way to take a step closer, okay, cool. Then what does a correction mean? Because correction is important. When people make mistakes, Neo, sorry, Neo, come here. When people make mistakes, mistakes aren't always ideal. They're natural, they happen, and usually they're not a big deal. But it is cool that that we evolve this capacity to be able to even do better. Okay, so we do want to have the concept. We do want to have some sort of corrective thing. Okay, but we don't want to see correction as being the declaration that someone has failed. Right? Because that's kind of how correction is now. If you correct, if you say, "Oh, here's what would be closer to perfect," that means that the other person was far from perfect, which is a bad thing. Shouldn't be a bad thing, but listen to the rambling for all that. So, and so correction needs to be practical. It can't just be stay here, go up there, bed. Good boy, thank you. It can't just be Oh, here's what would be better, because then people don't learn from that, and it leads to interpersonal stress. The person who pointed out is like, why are you still making that mistake? The person who had it pointed out is like, oh, why are you saying that I wasn't perfect? And then also, why you just keep bringing me that shame every time I make this mistake? Nobody's gaining anything from this. Okay. But some sort improvement's cool. So let's define correction as this instead. Fuck, I went over 5 minutes. Get it. All right, we're done. We're pretty much done. Correction is the process by which you change the mechanisms. So that requires learning, practice, time. Learning being the sum of practice and time. You change the mechanisms to produce as a PM. So with the new mechanisms, when the request comes, when the demand comes, the situation comes, the new mechanisms are the now prior mechanisms to the demand, but they're different from the other mechanisms. And they produce a thing. And hopefully that thing might be the step that was, produced. So we have to change what the PM is sometimes. So the AM is the proposal for the alternative march. And then that becomes our new, first march, our new priori march. So that's what a correction is. If you want to correct someone, then someone wants to be corrected on something. If correction matters in something, then what you need to do is be practical and talk about. So then what a correction is, it's not just saying what the alternative is, but it's coming up with a process by which the alternative will be produced rather than what we agree is the inadequate first thing. All right. How was that? All right, whatever. All right, good.